Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder aboard the SMS König. And whenever you wanted to feel superior to whatever comes your way, if you ever wanted to really rain down a hail of steel bullets onto enemies that really can't take it, the SMS König is the ship for you. Paired with thick armor, absolutely gorgeous looks, a nice skin, and just at 30 rounds per minute DPM, together with decent secondaries and funny torpedoes, then this ship is for you. You'll find the ship at rank 5, battle rating 6.7 in the tech tree after its predecessor, the SMS Kaiser, and yeah, that is all that you need to know. A little bit of history: the SMS König and the König class altogether was the most modern ship when it comes to the ships of the line, or battleships, that fought in the Battle of Jutland in 1916, and they had to go up against British battleships with their infamous 15-inch 42s, and they did relatively well, right? And that has to do with, well, the armor and just a lot of luck, especially. The Battle of Jutland is such a really interesting point of history that had its ripples go through history itself in very different ways, and I urge you to go out there, watch the videos from Drakinifel, and just read up on different sources, because there is just, knowing about the Battle of Jutland, then going into the finer details, what the various sides actually thought about it, previous battles that influenced tactics and other things, and ammunition handling on both sides or not, and it is really interesting. And why do I say this? Well, because the ship was in that, like so many other ships, and this is where the history comes together with playing those funny, colorful pixels, let's put it that way. And as far as ships go, the König is fun. No, she's just fun. She's not the fastest, she has no AA, she has no torpedo defense protection. There are so many things that are wrong. She has one of the worst ammunitions out there at this battle rating, and yet it doesn't matter, because at this battle rating of 6.7 you face cruisers, and no matter what those cruisers do, the overwhelming majority of them have no chance fighting you at all. If you don't get surprised by a complete salvo of torpedoes when you come around the corner of an island with a cruiser waiting for you, then you're fine. You just can blab them at basically any combat range, and you have a 20-second reload from 10 guns, giving you a DPM of 30 rounds per minute. So you're absolutely the king among peasants, and it is good. It is fantastic. Again, the main difference to the predecessor, the SMS Kaiser, is that all your firepower is in line. So you don't have in wing turrets in an echelon formation, where effectively the Kaiser had for most of the time, due to the limited firing angles, the long turret rotation times, the same DPM as the SMS Ostfriesland, Nassau, von der Tann, Helgoland, Westfalen, which some of them had a battle rating of 6.0. And this is just not cool, because this extra turret just gives you a quarter more DPM, which is great. And I think that covers the basics. So you also have those 15 centimeter secondaries, which also can help you with cruisers, to get the last few percents away, where you then can leave them to sink when the auto flood mechanic kicks in, which is still stupid, and you can train your guns on another target and unleash hell again. Okay, let's go over the basics. If you have never heard anything about German battleships, you have a distributed armor scheme, meaning you do not have an all or nothing armor scheme, and you have basically a really thick belt with an icebreaker in front, which helps you really absorb a lot of shells, but it's not foolproof, to which we'll come later. So the main belt, 350 millimeters of rolled cemented armor. That is thick, and helps you a lot versus even direct cruiser fire at point blank range. It is that thick of an armor plate. Then the icebreaker goes from 120 to 150 to 200 millimeters, right where it meets the main belt. And this also supports the thickness of the barbette and the bulkhead armor, so you can effectively also angle quite nicely, which I do not advise too much because there's always some armor gaps and some pixels here and there and some freak shots. And yeah, the bulkheads and the barbettes, they are together 300 millimeters coming down to 200 millimeters. Your real weakness is the 30 millimeter deck plating, so you have to close the distance before you get hooded, and 30 millimeters is not thick. Now behind the main belt there are a lot of coal bunkers, which act as single-use black hole armor void shields, because if they get pent, they seem to absorb that shell and just then they disappear. So your coal bunker's gone, and then you rely only on the main belt and a turtleback, which seem to be somewhere between 30 and 50 millimeters. It's not that effective. It's a far cry from Scharnhorst or Bismarck turtleback, but you know, better than nothing. And your turret barbettes are surprisingly thin, in my opinion, with only 300 millimeters. And the turret faces are also 300 millimeters. So you will lose your turrets, but you have 5 of them, and you have this crazy DPM. So in a direct battle, this ship is very good versus cruisers, but also can hold itself in a battle versus battleships. But it's not the alpha predator in that sense. There are other ships that are better in a fight versus other battleships, in my opinion, with their overall capabilities. But again, the König has just this fearsome DPM and just can shower you with those 12-inch shells, and they seem to be just barely capable of doing the job. I'm not really comfortable in a fight versus another battleship, but I seem to do the job. And while we have this crazy DPM, the accuracy is not the best, but again, good enough, especially at close range. Now here's another thing before we talk about the ammunition, and that is the ammunition capacity, because you have 850 rounds for 10 guns. That means 85 rounds per barrel, and most other battleships have around 100 rounds per barrel, and you have this crazy DPM. That means that you can run out of ammunition, and since you have 3 different ammunition types, you better know what you're choosing. Your stock round isn't too bad because it is a high explosive with base fuse, 27 kilograms of TNT, equivalent bursting charge, and the blast penetration is 65 millimeters. And at 10 kilometers you still can raw penetrate armor sheet of 97 millimeters. Then we come to the 350 millimeter Sprenggranate L3,3 SAP, and that is an SAP round, not even an SAP CBC round or something like that, with less than 11 kilograms of TNT equivalent bursting charge, but 278 millimeters of penetration. And it has also a fuse delay of 0.025 seconds. And this is really interesting because the tier 2 upgrade is the AP round, the 305 mm Panzersprenggranate L3,4, which is an APC round, so not even an APC round. And that has more TNT with 13.6 kilograms and the same fuse delay and fuse sensitivity, and just barely more penetration with 295. So the SAP is a no-brainer not to pick. So you use a couple of rounds of base use HE rounds versus some peasant destroyers or something, but for the overwhelming majority of targets, use the AP. It just does the job barely good enough. And this is the kicker where we have to talk about the comparison. Okay, so I repeat, 295 millimeters of penetration at 10 kilometers versus 0 degrees angles of attack for the König's 12-inch-50 AP rounds. Then we have 350 for the new HMS Centurion, or overall the British 13.5 inch, although there are different shells available to the various ships, but this is the new King George V class, the wrong King George V class that I wanted to see in game, by the way. Then the Japanese IJN Hiei with its 14-inch-45s has 397 millimeters. So that is a third more penetration, or over 100 millimeters more, and you really feel that. The USS Wyoming with its 12-inch-50s, also 10 of them and 30-second reload, has 368 millimeters at 10 kilometers. The only ship that you really beat is the RN Francesco Caracciolo with its 15-inch-40s that fires SAP rounds, so it doesn't have AP rounds available, and that has 282 millimeters. But again, this is 30-second reload from 8 guns, so what you're playing with is insane DPM for battleship grade caliber that is perfect for mauling cruisers, and that never gets old. I have focused here a little bit on the battleship kills that I did, but also have shown you how quickly you can overcome the issues of cruisers existing. and it never gets old, I have to tell you. And this ship is not totally overpowered. The armor isn't perfect in that sense. The ammo racks are actually also on the waterline and can be hit, at least the shell rooms, and then your ammo is gone. And so in the long run, this ship just doesn't have the endurance in that sense. Now, other issues are not that really critical, like you have basically no AA. 488s are not cutting it. But again, it's a World War I ship that was scuttled at Scapa Flow in, I think, was it 1919? So it never got a post-World War I refit. And even if it had some 20 millimeters, that wouldn't really cut it. But again, I love the aesthetics of this ship. This is basically for me what the Derfflinger is for the German Grand Cruisers or battle cruisers. The SMS König is with its World War I style, superstructure arrangement, you know, the casemate secondaries, the hull form. To a certain degree, the paint job just really has the style of the ships of the line, or battleships, if you want to call it, dreadnoughts, whatever. And it's fun, and it's basically the best that existed, and it has some fantastic story around the Battle of Jutland. And one final sentence about the Battle of Jutland: read up on it from multiple sources, because knowing about the Battle of Jutland is one thing, going into the finer details is another thing, and then really seeing how it sent ripples through the development of the various nations' battleships, finalizing its impact in the Bismarck herself. That is something that is really interesting to read upon, and I really like the König. This gets a big thumbs up from me. That's it from me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you found this video entertaining and a little bit informative. If so, why not give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. For you, it's just a couple of clicks. For me, it means the world. And as usual, we will see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.